So, hi, Betty,
Hi.
and hi, everyone who's watching. My name is Carol. I'm a sexological body worker here in Belgium, and I'm very excited to be with you, Betty, tonight.
Thank
I,
you.
I'm a huge fan of your work, and I'm really excited to present you to the community here in Belgium, maybe people that know you already and those who never heard about you. I'm very excited as well that you will be coming to Belgium, the Netherlands in the next year to offer your Leica Pro.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
So can you introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. I'm Dr. Betty Martin. Was a chiropractor for many years, and then when I retired from that, I began doing hands-on sex coaching work, surrogate work, and sacred intimate work, which means that I help people learn how to enjoy themselves, enjoy their skin, ask for what they want, make choices about what they want, and learn how to basically enjoy themselves and enjoy each other. It's very interesting, as you might guess. It's a lot of fun. And after I'd been doing that for some years, I also took the sexological bodywork training, and I use some of those methods, but I don't really practice it specifically because my work is interactive. Sexological body work is one-way touch.
Yes.
And my work's interactive. And then in recent years, I started to notice that there were different ways that people touch each other and different kind of modes or ways to touch each other. And I developed a model based on that, which is called the Wheel of Consent. And then I started teaching that to practitioners about 10 years ago, and developed that. It just kept growing. And now that's almost all I do. I don't see private clients very much anymore. I mostly teach other practitioners, and that is partly in the 5-day course, the Leica Pro, and it's partly by supervision and coaching and consulting over video. And I love doing this. I just love it. It's working with practitioners that's really where my heart is these days. Yeah. And I'm also working on finishing up a book about that. It's called The Wheel of Consent, Understanding the Direction of the Gift.
Can't wait.
Thank you. I can't wait either. I've been working on it for quite a number of years. But I'm on the home stretch, and I expect to have something this fall.
Okay, wow, great.
Yeah.
And then we will translate it into Dutch.
And then we will translate into Dutch and several other things, I'm sure. Yeah.
So you're the founder of the Wheel of Consent, Betty?
I'm the founder of the Wheel of Consent.
Yeah.
And the Wheel of Consent is a model, or it's a practice. And it's a practice in taking, receiving and giving apart, so that you are only receiving and not trying to give anything back at the same time. Or you are only giving and not trying to get something back at the same time. So when you take them apart, what happens is that you find out what they are. Because as long as you're mixing the two of them up together, you don't really know what they are. And when I say give and receive, a lot of times people think that means doing and being done to, but what I distinguish in the Wheel of Consent is that who is doing is different than who is it for. So I'll explain it like this. When I'm touching you, I may be doing it for you and doing what you want. Or I may be doing it for me and doing what I want. That difference is important and is really quite wonderful. And we need them both.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that one's a good way and one's a bad way. We need them both, but we need to be able to tell the difference.
Yeah.
And likewise, if you are touching me, it may be what I want, it may be what you want,
Mm-hmm.
and that difference matters.
Yeah.
So the wheel of consent, this is what the wheel of consent is about, is noticing the difference between who is doing and who is it for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's basically the wheel of consent in a nutshell.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I'm so passionate about the wheel of consent as well, because of when we're practicing it, it looks quite simple and pure. When you look at it, it's like it's about very simple things. And these things allow us to find a complexity in which we get lost very often in daily life, intimacy, and sexuality.
Yeah.
So it's a huge tool that is simple in its form, but hides such a complex human world.
Yeah. Well, I would say that the wheel itself is extremely simple. What's complex is all the ways that we have figured out how to work around it because it's not clear.
Yeah.
So when I'm touching you, for example, and I think, well, it's supposed to be for you, but I'm really trying to get something back. And is it for you? Is it for me? Is it, and, that's where it gets complex.
Mm-hmm.
But the wheel itself is very, very simple. Either I'm doing or you're doing. Which one is it? And either it's for me or it's for you. Which one is it? And so, but it turns out that when we take those apart like that, we discover things about ourselves that are sometimes challenging. We discover where, for example, it's hard to ask for what we want. Well, that's no news. That's often difficult. Or we discover, oh, I'm going along with something here that I don't really want. Why am I doing that? What's going on with me? So you just learn more and more about yourself, and that's why it's so rich, as you're noticing that. Yeah, there's a lot here.
Yeah.
And that's what surprised me in developing it. It grew out of two questions that two people take turns asking each other, which is, how do you want to touch me, and how do you want me to touch you? And that gave rise to noticing that, oh, who is doing, but who is it for? Two different things. Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit more, Betty, why is this exploration so important for practitioners who work with bodies, with intimacy and sexuality?
Sure. Well, a couple of things. As practitioners, we are doing what we're doing is for the benefit of the client, by definition. But the client doesn't always realize that or act on that, because we've all been touched against our will before we could talk. And so we all have a tendency to go along with what's being done to us, and thinking that, well, I guess it's okay. I have to figure out how to like it. And so when we get on the table and there's a practitioner serving us, we can do the same thing. We can just go along with whatever we think is the right thing to do, but it's not really what we want or what's useful for us. And so as the practitioner in that situation, it's very important for us to recognize that our client is likely to go along with stuff that they don't want. And so part of the Leica Pro training and the Wheel of Consent is that how to teach your client how to notice that, and how to teach your client to ask for what they want instead of going along with whatever it is that you are doing. And that is that's a very empowering thing for a client.
Yeah.
And basically, I think that's really the whole point. I think the point is not the cool stuff that you do with your hands. The point is, how do you teach your client to be empowered? That's what's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is so huge. And I've been, since I've been doing the Leica Pro, and I use it in all of my sessions, sometimes very, very on the surface, like doing the things, and sometimes not named. And in all of my workshops, it's intervened, because we're so much trained to not go and feel inside and not feel what the real longing is, or the yes and the no.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a challenge for me. It stays a challenge to find my nose in some situations. So we put in our heads and in our bodies to go along, as you say.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I've been working at this consciously for 15 years, and I still have places where I go along with something, or, it's there.
Yeah.
It's a lifelong process.
Yeah, it's an ongoing process, and another reason why I'm so passionate about it is because it really makes change happen.
Yes, it does.
From where I come, it's huge. It was another planet.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I think that's because it addresses the most fundamental dynamic of interaction, especially around touch. I mean, we're talking about touch, but it also applies in other parts of life as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it addresses the most fundamental dynamic of, is this for me or is this for you? And because it's fundamental, it's like it changes everything. It's like the ground shakes underneath you. And I think that's why it produces such big changes. Yeah, it's like you change the ground, and then everything above it has to change. Yeah,
you get new flowers and new trees and new possibilities.
Yeah.
And I think, Betty, why I'm very happy that you will come to Belgium and Holland, because as a practitioner, we have to do our ongoing work. We have to stay in touch with what's alive for us, and to be able to keep on recognizing where the clients goes along.
Yes.
In allowing, instead of finding this sweet spot in himself or herself. Maybe some people will think that your work is on sexuality because it includes touch. Can you tell a little bit more on that? Because it's
yes, my work, the Wheel of Consent grew out of a practice working with sexuality and touch. But it's very important to distinguish between touch and sex. Touch is a human need. We all have it. We never outgrow it. It has nothing to do with sex. And sex or sexual expression is also a human need. And I don't say sex is a human need, because you can live your whole life and not have sex. It doesn't kill anybody. But our need to express ourselves authentically as a sexual being is the actual need that's there. But anyway, that's a different need than touch. And when we have experiences of touch that are not about sex, that's where we learn that they are different things. So this practice is about touch, but it has implications and ramifications that are way beyond touch. In politics, for example, my country is going to invade some other country because it wants cheap oil. Well, is that because are we doing that because we want it or because they want it? And how can we be clean about that and clear about that? And so it affects all relationships, including family, friends, business, international politics.
Wow.
Yeah. But it definitely grew out of working with touch.
So it's
And I think it's the best way to learn it, because when you feel the difference, so you have the 4 quadrants of different ways of touch. When you feel the difference between those in your hands and in your body, then you really get it. Until you feel it in your body, it's just kind of an interesting theory, which may or may not be useful. But so far, I'm finding that the way to learn it best is with touch, because it's physical.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll learn a way to teach it that doesn't involve touch, but so far I haven't.
Exciting as well. Maybe, probably. Yeah. So with touch, but in a non-sexual setting, huh?
Yes, and it's easiest to learn it when it's non-sexual setting.
Yeah.
Because you're learning a new thing, you are, you're creating new pathways in your brain. So it's very helpful to learn it in a setting that's not about sex. And it looks like, there we go. You got the sun moving past the curtain over here.
Okay.
So yeah, it's easier to learn if it's not about sex, because as soon as sex becomes part of the equation, then you're very tempted to go back and get the job done and do what you always do, and it's hard to learn. It's very hard to learn. Yeah.
Great.
And the workshops are not about sex. They're all clothed. There's no sexual touch in the workshops.
Yeah. Great. So when do you come? No.
Well, I'll be there in during September of 2018, and I'm really looking forward to it. I've never been to Belgium or Holland or Netherlands.
Wow.
And so we're not it's for September, but we're not releasing the dates until we have the location figured out.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to find a nice venue, and then we'll set out the dates in a week or in 10 days.
Yeah. And those dates can always be found on my website, bettymartin.org. Okay. And there's a link there for the calendar, and all the upcoming classes are there on the calendar. So that's you can always find out what's happening there.
Okay, thank you. And for people that never looked at your website, one of the things that I admire in you is that you're so generous with your work. You spread it, and you have supported many of us to get it in our fingers and in our bodies and then spread it. And you have all these free online videos on your website. So for everyone who's interested already. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. There's a page of a bunch of free videos, a bunch, and help yourself. Yeah.
Right, Betty. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
You need or you want to add before we?
I don't think so. Come join us. It'll be fun.
Yeah. For everyone, you can also find the information on my website. It's www.carolverbeek.com. The Like a Pro will be in English.
Yes.
But some of us will be there to translate if not all the details are arriving. But it will be in English, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I look forward to it.
Yes, Betty, me too. And have a nice day there.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.